morning. Did you sleep well? I really didn't, because you were tossing and turning all last night. But I guess since we're here, I really want to take the time now to let's talk about sex, if that's okay with you. Because you know what, a lot of people ask me the question, when is it okay to sleep with a guy? When is it okay to sleep with a guy that he won't actually, will really just use you and leave you? And that is quite a common problem. I want to give you an answer that no one else has really given you before, because thinking it in terms of, the 3-day rule or a 3-week rule or 3-month rule, depending on, what person you kind of listen to, is not really an adult way of looking at sex. And really, the things I'm giving you now are also a really good way of looking at modern dating just in general, because, sex is a part of the pie. I don't really, depending on what kind of culture you're in as well, like you might be thinking of your sex after marriage, and that's okay. But I want you to think like relating to people as, like a pie. We have a pie, and sex is only part of it, because really, at the end of the day, you communicate with people, right? You're communicating using your words. That's another part of the pie. You can communicate using gifts. That's another part of the pie. Now, sex is one of those things that you can communicate with someone at a very intimate level, and you can communicate with people in a way that really kind of expresses yourself, that you've never really been able to express yourself in physical words. But the one thing that people get wrong when it comes to sex is that sex is the medium, it's not the message. Because sometimes you might sleep with a guy, for example, and he might be only after you for sex, and then he disappears afterwards. That's because you dealt with a guy who was a little bit more immature, and then because he was thinking about it because it was the message. He was after sex because that was the final goal, when really sex is not the final goal. Sex is a form of expression. If you think of it as a form of expression, you're really going to just improve the way you look at it. And in general, I know you might be thinking but if I think about this in this way, a guy is going to think about it in this way, and they're going to still use me. Or I'm going to give you 4 elements now to really consider and think about when you're actually sleeping with a guy it won't allow that to happen. Because you'll be stepping up into more of an adult way of looking at sex, and when you look at it like this, then other people also look at it like this. So the first thing is often the hardest thing to consider, and that is self-acceptance. Really, it's the same thing as dating. When you go on a date with a guy, you're also going to be bringing your baggage as well. And the truth is that, people are afraid of drama, but drama exists. It's not about removing the drama. It's just about realizing that everyone has baggage, and it's about accepting who you are first, because when you accept yourself first, other people will be able to, but also realizing that other people have their baggage, and if you can accept yourself, then you're going to allow guys to accept their selves. And the truth is as well, a lot of guys, for example, who just want a quick fix sex, that does come from a lack of self-acceptance. And if you accept yourself, you'll be able to immediately see past what these guys are thinking and feeling, and really you'll be able to screen them out. You won't even look at them, you won't even realize them. You'll just be like, oh shit, they're kids. I'm an adult now. I want to start seeing adults, so I'll stop playing in the kiddie pool. The next one is often the hardest one, and that is trust. You gotta trust yourself, and you have to learn to trust someone else. This is why I often say it's like go first. You kind of have to set that standard and that expectation first by moving yourself first and trying things first before the other person. All of these things don't actually work together if you don't have the next one, which is communication. So here's the interesting thing about sex, romance, and dating. A lot of people want romance and sex to be this spontaneous, amazing thing that just sparks up, right? But unfortunately, if it happens, chances are one of the people who's involved is actually been thinking about it for quite a while, maybe at a subconscious or a conscious level. And so in actual reality, it's not as spontaneous as you think. So having that communication, having to say, you know what, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, is really amazing, because if you can actually step up and actually do that, then the guy that you're seeing is going to realize that it's okay to communicate. Even things on dates, even things like, hey, you know what, I don't like this place, I'd like to go here. That kind of stuff, one, it sets standards for who you are as a person, but also, you know what, guys respect that. That's actually extremely attractive, that kind of certainty, because you're also hitting at him on a very primal level. But also in the bedroom, if you say, hey, I don't like that, that hurts, hey, I'd like to try this instead. Also, if you're allowing yourself to, say, potentially do things that you like, that you might think that other guys might not like, that's actually going to allow him to open up and have that sense of communication as well. You'll be surprised what kind of that strong assertive thing that a lot of women think that not being assertive is the way to get a guy. It's like, look, there are many ways to cut a pie. Using the pie metaphor, there are many ways to cut a pie, and it's one of those things that it's really undervalued. If you have that sense of assertiveness, if you aren't afraid to be yourself, you give other people permission to be themselves. Now, the last thing is meaning. Now, here's the thing, and this is where it really relates to dating, is that we give this meaning to sex and dating that often is completely unrealistic. If we give this meaning that it is the be-all and the end-all and it is the definition of who we are, then that is going to completely, when we don't get that, we're going to feel so upset and so just shocked that that was the case, that we weren't this whole being that was meant to just completely woo someone else at a very identity level straight away. This is why I often say dates don't have to have sparks, they just have to be comfortable. Because if you just think about it, it's just as comfortable, then that's a successful date. Same thing with sex. Like, a lot of times the first time is quite awkward and you don't know the other person's body. Sometimes there are sparks that you really connect at a very chemistry level, but sometimes there aren't. And these things, they take time, so it's okay to just slowly move things forward and just learn to communicate, learn to trust, learn to self-express a little bit more, but also change the meaning that sex has. Like, for example, a lot of people put way too much meaning on the orgasm. It's like, a better way to look at it is that sex is the main course and orgasm is the dessert. If you never had dessert, it would still be good. And really, if you make it about the orgasm, or if you also make it about, say, for example, getting a relationship rather than just treating the date as an experience in itself, then what's going to happen is we're just turning society into a thing of commodities, that we're only sleeping with each other to get each other off, or to get ourselves off, or we're only dating each other because we want a higher agenda. Really, sure, you can have what you want, and some people really like dessert, so that's okay. But really, at the end of the day, we don't want to be a society and a person of just who are commoditizing things, that we're only exchanging value, that we're only trying to date someone else because we want that relationship in the end. Because the best kind of relationships have always developed when we don't actually expect something in return. And the best kinds of relationships have always developed when we find something that we're not really expecting it. And if you stop expecting it and stop having this whole meaning, because here's the big thing. We often consider dating and sex to have a hierarchy. That orgasm is the top of the hierarchy and penetration is like the middle, and all these other things that are like, ooh, kinky and dirty. Oh no, let's not even think about that. But also similarly, if you look at dating, we have the monogamous relationship as the top of the hierarchy, and then we have dates as the middle, and all these other things like non-committal sex and non-committal relationships, like, oh no, put them to the bottom of the relationship, bottom of the chain. I'm not advocating that people should disrupt their beliefs, but what I'm advocating is to take a look at the hierarchy that you give things, the meaning that you give things, and just to dissociate yourself from it and be, next time you go on a date, I want you to say, hey, I'm gonna see this for what it is, because here's the truth, right? And here's a big reality behind everything, is that a lot of people get into relationships thinking they can change someone. And the best relationships that survive are the ones that communicate and accept each other first, and then don't even try and change each other. Because really, at the end of the day, you might really like a guy, but he's got some annoying traits, and you might talk to him and might think like, hey, I want to change this about him. You know, if only he could just be a little bit more assertive, if only he could be a little bit more expressive, and then the guy changes them. Because I've dealt with a lot of guys when I was coaching them. You know, this is a common issue, men's issues, they don't know what women want. So then guys end up changing themselves because they think that's what women want, and then really, at the end of the day, when they change themselves, their partners are no longer attracted. So it's that self-acceptance and that acceptance of other people and that ability to disrupt that hierarchy of sex and relationships and just dating, and that'll allow you to see things for what they are, and that'll allow you to just really create the kinds of relationships that you never even thought were possible. And I'm speaking this from experience and from coaching other people and getting them to create relationships that they never even thought was possible. And you know what? Sometimes it hurts because there's growing pains. If you allow yourself to move forward and to learn things, then that at the end of the day is the best thing that you can grant. Do you want to be someone who has a depth of relationships that no one else has? Do you want to be someone who can really just see past what people are saying and really just connect with someone at a level that no one else has? Do you want to be someone that no one else uses and abuses because you offer so much value into their life that they just want to give to you in return? Or do you want to be someone who people use and abuse because they just don't know how to express themselves because you don't know how to express yourselves? And if there's one takeaway I want you to take away from this video, is that it's time to stop playing in the kiddie pool. It's time to grow up, and it's time to have an adult view about sex, and it's time to have an adult view about dating. And if you're very curious about reading more, there's one book I'd really like to suggest. I'm gonna put it right here. It's called Sexual Intelligence. And if you're really curious about finding out more, what I want you to do is go to www.gethimhooked.com, where you can do the quiz, which is on my front page right now, which is the What Guy is Most Attracted to You quiz, where it's a values analysis thing, where you can find out who you are as a person as well. You might find out a little bit about yourself, but also you can find out what kind of guy is most attracted to your values, and you can start connecting the two. I hope this video has been of help. If you've had any questions, feel free to comment them below, and I always respond to them while I can.